good day and welcome. Matthew here again. We are at Bathurst Group 2. That's what it is. I was going to say Group 3. Group 2, Bathurst Nations Cup, and we're at the top 16 superstars for Oceania region. As you can see, I qualified 7th. I think Kenemos took out the pole position with a 49.3, followed by 2nd through 6th, all within a second of each other. Not even a second, was it? Oh, they're all within a second of each other. I mean, within a tenth of each other. I think 2nd place was like a 49.8, and 6th place was a 150 flat, and that was by Mikosi there in 6th. So really, really tight up the front. I was a further 3/10 back. I was a 50.3, and then Schnick behind me was another 10th. So it starts to spread out from there, but the top 6 just insanely close together. It was quite a cool qualifying session to see, and see the times roll in at the end. Just nuts. So kind of set it up for maybe an exciting race, but it is Bathurst, and you can just get a bit of a field spread. And if you don't pick up a draft early on to stay within somebody's draft ahead of you, then the field starts spreading. It can be quite boring, so you can get really nuts races at Bathurst. I've been side by side with some drivers across the top of the mountain the whole way, and you know, that such a tight space to go side by side with another driver. It's really exciting. And then most of my races around here, the field spreads and nothing happens. So for me, I didn't quite have the pace of the top 6 I mean, and I figured I was in for a bit of a lonely race. So at this stage, I'm kind of keeping in touch with Mikosi and Holland. Holland made a mistake early on and fell back, and Mikosi and Holland are having a bit of a fight. Being the second race of the night, the top 16, in the first race, Mikosi and Holland went side by side through the chase and took each other out. And in that instance, Holland holds the inside line, and Mikosi has nowhere to go and slides a bit. I nearly get past him. I'm not sure if I bump him or something, but something stopped me from actually sliding on by, and so I remain in 7th, about 3/10 behind at this stage. But we'll go back and show you that incident. So here, Mikosi gets a run on Holland. Holland positions his car to the right, which is a good defensive line for this corner. They go side by side into here. There was a small tap. Mikosi does get his left rear tyre on the grass, puts it into a bit of a slide. I nearly get up past him. Something stopped me from doing so. I thought I was on the way past, but then all of a sudden he sort of gained some speed out of nowhere and maintained 6th place. So a little bit exciting. These two, Mikosi and Holland, are both very aggressive drivers, and it's generally where the fireworks begin to happen. But I didn't want it to happen in front of me. I wanted it further up the field, to be honest, so I could gain a few more places, but I was relying at this stage on other people's mistakes to bring them closer to me, because I just wasn't quite on this level at this stage. So a bit further on, lap 7, not a heck of a lot's happened. Everybody's kind of gotten together, spread apart again, but everybody stayed in the same place. But Mikosi gets a run, Holland forces up the inside this time, actually pushes him off the road. So the last time Holland was on the inside and held his position, this time Mikosi goes up the inside. Although difficult to see, Mikosi, because he plays from Europe or wherever he's from, has a bit of lag, so you cannot battle closely with him, and his car does end up doing funny things and pushing people off. Whether he means to or not, I don't know. But he actually did not pick up a penalty for that one. Tyrrell Hollow did get stuffed into the wall pretty hard and damaged his engine, and so he falls back to 8th place. So I gain a position, but it's been quite a quiet race so far, with the top 3 pretty much staying in the order they qualified in for 7 laps, and all of maybe a second apart between each of them. So just heading on to the end of lap 7 now, and this is where a bit of a development happens. So we got Carbas following Holland and Noble. Holland recovering from his incident earlier. They go side by side through here, which is pretty good. Holland goes very deep on the brakes, and Carbas has a disconnect. So at this stage his car's disconnected back at the chicane. for whatever reason, the game just strolls them down to the final corner, taking out every one of the braking markers before the final lap, really. So this is just to jump back and have a look at the incident between Holland and Noble. Noble gets a good run down the straight, heading into the chase. They go side by side, which is insane to do in these cars. Holland goes too deep on the brakes, gives Noble a tap, pushes him off the road, and picks up a 5-second penalty for the efforts. And you see Bass in the foreground disconnecting and wiping out all the braking markers. So Noble carries on with Holland carries on with a 5-second penalty. Noble drops back a place. He lost out to, can't see who that is, Matthew McEwen. But here is why you see why those braking markers are so important. So coming into the last lap, Kinemos comes across the lack of braking markers for the first time and ends up, well, I guess with all of them in the sand. So after having dominated qualifying by blitzing the field by half a second and controlling the race from out front comfortably on his way to a comfortable victory, the brake markers disappeared due to a driver that lagged out, cost them the win. He falls off the track. I don't know what braking marker he uses, I guess the 100 meter board, but he falls off the track and drops back to 5th, actually just ahead of me. So at that stage I was 10 seconds behind and he ends up 1 second ahead of me. So real shame. I felt real bad for Kinemos to do that, or to lose all that, because he had run a brilliant race and deserved that 100%. So one last piece of action for this race before we close it out. Adam gets a really good run out of that corner behind Mint, tucks in behind him, gets a good draft. The 08 GTR does have a little bit higher top end than the 2016 model, so he goes side by side through here. This is always risky to do. They do it really nice and clean. Slams on the anchors. This is the advantage of the 16 model, is that it does brake a bit better than the 08 model, and claims second place. And as you see up ahead, Sidog taking home first. As much as Kinemos deserved the win, that is also a well-deserved win from Sidog. He nailed the practice this week, really fast all week long, or the past few days, because it's from Wednesday, isn't it, the last race, and picked up the pieces when it all fell apart from Kinemos. So really well done by Side to take out the top 16 superstars, and a nice finish by Adam at the end, taking over Mint. So that was the race. It was a very quiet one. That's, I guess, why I focused so much on the other happenings throughout the race, all the bits and pieces of action that I picked up from my position, because I spent a lot of time looking at the track map and and sector times and splits between drivers and things like that. So I just didn't have the pace. I wasn't going to be able to catch the leaders at all, and I knew Makosi ahead of me could run a lot faster, so even putting my head down and absolutely nailing every lap, I would have been hard pressed to do better than where I came. I had in practice sessions this week, you know, flashes of brilliance. There were times where I could have ran, well, in theory I could have hit 49s, but that's it. Put the sectors together, you know, you're as fast as anybody else, but you've got to actually do the job, put the sectors together when it counts in qualifying and when it counts in the race. And I think the other mistake was sticking with the 16 car. The 08 car definitely looks to be the faster of the two, and yes, the 2008 car wears its tyres more, but it can do a single lap pace faster than the 16, so you can qualify higher, get out ahead earlier, and then maintain that track position. And that is more important around Bathurst. It can be difficult to overtake. You've got to do a really good job to get up behind another driver to get past them, and the tyre wear difference at the end between the two cars wasn't enough to matter. So the 08 car ultimately is the most sensible choice, and the top three guys here, well, what should have been Kinemos, Sidog and Mint, qualified 1, 2 and 3 and finished almost 1, 2 and 3. So for 8 laps they ran 1, 2, 3. So aside from Adam pipping Mint at the ends and Kenemos falling off due to the braking markers, it really made it look like the car of choice. The cars did all concertina up at the end. I think Makosi in 5th or 4th only ended up 3 seconds behind Sidog, so you can see the 08 car was running out of tyres by the end, because at one stage it was 5 or 6 seconds between Makosi and Sidog when he was 6th and 2nd, so it did really close up at the end, but the race is 9 laps not long and not 10 laps, and you've got to pick the car and use the right strategy to get through the 9 laps or whatever laps are on offer or whatever the race is. So it comes down to experience. Put it down to experience. I certainly will be stronger next time out, but unfortunately this time coming 7th cost me a lot of points in my battle for the top dog of New Zealand, and Sidog is well out ahead between us at the moment, so I'm going to have to do something, put my head down, win a few races, which is easier said than done, to get back in the fight. So thank you all for coming along and watching. If you did like what you see, give us a like and a subscribe, share this with your friends and family. As I always say, if you want to come see these races live, catch me on Twitch. The link is in the description below, and until next time, thank you and bye-bye.